Now for our next assignment, I'm going to go through these examples that we looked at last Friday, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't do number 8, okay? Don't do number 8. I don't want you doing that here today. Okay, now we have 2x to the third outside of a parentheses, and then in the parentheses we have x to the third power plus 3x to the second power minus 2x plus 5. Okay, so the 2x to the third, the operation is to multiply. Okay, so I'm going to put a dot right there. Now, when I see multiplication, I got to make sure every x variable has a number in front. So that has a 2 in front. This x here would get a 1. This x a 3. This x a 2. So remember that. And what you do is distribute the 2 to the 3, or the 2 to the 1, to the 3, to the negative 2, and to the positive 5. So that's 4 different products we're going to have to find here. So I distribute 2 to 1, okay? But it's 2x to the third times 1x to the third. And I will figure that product out here in a second, but I'm going to keep drawing my rainbows, my distribution. 2 to 3, okay? But it's 2x to the third times 3x to the second. Okay, then I go back to the 2. The next big number is negative 2. So 2 to negative 2, but it's 2x to the third times negative 2x. Okay, and then finally I have the 5, 2 times 5, but it's 2x to the third times 5. Okay, so now I find my products. 2 times 1 is 2, and then on the x variables we add the exponents in multiplication. 3 plus 3 is 6. It's not 9. You don't take 3 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And then on the x variables, I take 3 plus 2, and that's 5. Now the next one, I take 2 times negative 2, and that's, and by the way, one thing, make sure every x on this part here, make sure every x actually has a power, okay? You're going to want to do that. So this x here would get a first power. So I take 2 times negative 2, that's negative 4. On the x's, I take 3 plus 1, and that's 4. Okay, then 2 times 3 is 10, and the 3 is the only power I have, so it's just a 3. Now, all of these powers are different, so I don't have to worry about combining any like terms, because all the x's are 2 different powers, 6, 5, 4, and 3. So I write my first product, 2x to the 6th, plus... and then my next product, 6x to the 5th. My next product, negative 4x to the 4th. And then my final product is 10x to the 3rd. Put plus signs as operators between them, and that's your answer. Okay, now my next problem. We got an x outside here. That means that it's a multiplication operation. So make sure all your x's in the whole expression have numbers in front. So that would have a 1, and this x has a 7. So I go 1 to 7, okay? So it's 1x times 7x to the second. Now I got to take the 1 times the 4. That's 1x times 4. Okay, now make sure all the x's have powers. That has a 2, that would be a 1, and that would be a 1. So 1 times 7 is 7. On the x's, 1 plus 2 is 3, 7x to the third. 1 times 4 is 4, and on the x, we just have a first power, okay? Now the powers on the x's are different, so I really can't simplify, so it's 7x to the third plus 4x to the first, or 4x if you want to write it there, but it helps to have the 1 there right now. Okay, the next problem, x to the second. Well, what's with the x to the second? Well, it'd be times, and then everything in this parentheses. So let's make sure our x's have numbers in front. So this x would have a 1 in front, that x would have a 6, that x would have a -3. Okay, so I distribute 1 to 6, okay? But it's 1x to the second times 6x to the second. You got to get the variables behind the numbers written down. Okay, then I'm going to take 1 times -3, but it's 1x to the second times -3x. Okay, and then 1 to -1, but it's 1x to the second times just -1. Okay, so on the products, make sure all the x's have exponents. So 2, 2, 2. This would be a 1 power and a 2. And there is no x here, so I don't put anything. 1 times 6 is 6. And on the x, we have 2 plus 2, that's 4. 1 times -3 is -3. And on the x, 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 times -1 is -1, and on the x, all I have is the second power, so it's to the second. So all those powers are different, so we just write them as a sum of each one. So 6x to the fourth plus -3x to the third plus -1x to the second. Okay, and that is the answer. That's your product. Okay, -5a to the third, and then the operations times, and then a parentheses, we have 4a to the fourth minus 3a plus 1. Okay. So I go -5 to 4, but it's -5a to the third times 4a to the fourth. Equals. Okay, then -5 to -3. The subtraction operator means that's multiplied as a -3. You can't forget that. -5, but it's -5a to the third times -3a. Okay, and then -5 to 1. So -5a to the third times a -1. Okay, make sure all your a variables have powers. Third, fourth, third. This a here has a 1 power. A to the third, and then there's no a there, so I don't put anything. -5 times 4 is -20. A would be 3 plus 4, which is 7. -5 times -3 is 15. And on the a's, it would be 3 plus 1, and that's 4. And -5 times 1 is -5, and then we just have the a to the third. That's the only exponent I have on the a. Okay, so I have a to the seventh, a to the fourth, a to the third. All of them are different. So -20, a to the seventh, plus 15, a to the fourth, plus -5, a to the third. Okay. Next two problems. We have 4d to the second, and then the operators times. And here we distribute, make sure all the d's have numbers in front. So that d has a 4, that d has a -2, that d has a 5, that d has a -6. Okay. So 4d to the second times -2d to the third. 4 times -2, and then we just put the variables and their exponents. Then +4 times +5, but it's 4d to the second times 5d to the second. Okay. And then 4 to -6, that's the next big number, but it's 4d to the second times -6d. Okay, and then finally the 2, 4 to the 2, but it's 4d to the second times 2. Okay, then I find the products. 4 times -2 is -8, And then on the D, it'd be 2 plus 3, and that's 5. 4 times 5 is 20. And then on D, it'd be 2 plus 2, that's 4, D to the 4th. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Then on the D, it's 2 and 1, so it's 2 plus 1, and that's 3. Then finally, 4 times 2 is 8. And then the only exponent I have is 2, so D to the 2. Okay, all these D's are to different powers, D to the 5th, D to the 4th, D to the 3rd, D to the 2nd. So I have negative 8 D to the 5th plus 20 D to the 4th plus negative 24 D to the 3rd plus 8 D to the 2nd. Okay, that's my product. Okay, my next one, 5x to the 4th times 2x to the 3rd, and then minus 3x to the 2nd, plus 5x, and then that's a minus 1. Sorry about the poor handwriting. Okay, let's make sure all our x's have numbers in front. So x has a 5, that x a 2, that x a negative 3, that x a 5. Okay, so 5 to 2, but it's 5x to the 4th times 2x to the 3rd. Then 5 to negative 3, but it's 5x to the 4th times negative 3x to the 2nd. Okay, 5 to 5, but it's 5x to the 4th times 5x. Okay, 5 to negative 1, so it's 5x to the 4th times negative 1. Okay, now all your x's need to have powers, 4th, 3rd, 4, 2, 4, and that'd be a 1. That's a 4, and there's no x there, so I don't need to put anything. So 5 times 2 is 10. On the x's, it'd be 4 plus 3, which is 7. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Then on the x's, it'd be 4 plus 2. That's x to the 6th. 5 times 5 is 25. Then on the x's, it'd be 4 plus 1, and that's 5. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, and that would just be x to the 4th. So all these x's are to different powers, so we just write them out as plus between them. 10x to the 7th plus negative 15x to the 6th plus 25x to the 5th plus negative 5x to the 4th. Okay, and this is our final product. Okay, now, next problem. 8y to the 2nd, you have two polynomials here. Okay, they've been parenthesized, and between them we have a plus, so there's no times we have to worry about. Okay, so with plus, okay, if the operation's plus or minus, we need to draw out our spaces. Okay, the y is the variable, second power, first y to the second, y to the first, and then y to the second, y to the first. So it appears to me that y to the second is the highest exponent plus blank, and then y plus blank. Okay, so I'm on the lookout for y to the second. So I have 8y to the second and negative 11. Remember, we add those, okay? So 8 plus negative 11 is negative 3. So we have a negative 3. Cross it out. Okay, now you're looking for regular y's. You have a negative 3 and a positive 2. So I'm going to take negative 3 plus 2. It's negative 1. Okay, now I look for the constants. I have negative 10 and negative 7. So I take negative 10 plus negative 7. That's negative 17. Okay, 2x to the third minus 3x to the second plus 5x, and then we have a minus operation. And then 6x to the third plus 3x to the second minus 5x. All right, so I'm looking through here, and I've got x third, x second, x third, x second, x. So x is the variable, and the highest power I have is the third power in the whole thing. Plus blank, and then x to the second plus blank, and then x plus blank. So x to the third, I have a 2x to the third and a 6x to the third, and we need to do the subtraction operation. So it's 2 minus 6, which is negative 4. Okay, and then we can cross those out. Okay, now x to the second, I have negative 3x to the second here and positive 3x to the second. So I take 3 minus positive 3, and that's 0. Or sorry, I did that wrong. It's negative 3 minus 3. That's negative 6. Okay, and then for regular x, I have a positive 5 and a negative 5. So it's 5 minus negative 5, which is 10. Okay. Okay, and then I have no constants, so I can eliminate this space. It would just be 0. Okay, and then you have the 7 problems to do.